Hey y'all, I'm Brooke Hoover, a Louisiana native, actor, writer, and comedian. I've lost 100 pounds through diet and exercise, or shall I say, lifestyle changes. My 20-year and counting health journey has taught me that just like taking a diet pill for weight loss, body positivity doesn't magically happen overnight. I'm working on regaining my self-esteem and rekindling my love affair with Cajun and Southern comfort food in a healthier way, all the while juggling eating as clean as I can, reestablishing myself in the entertainment industry, which, as we know, is historically fat-phobic, all the while showing my inner fat girl some love. That's fat with a PH. Pretty hot and tempting. Let me tell y'all a tale or two. Thanks so much, y'all, for tuning in to Who's Dat Fat Girl. Today we have a very special guest. All the guests are special, but this guest, I scouted out. I feel like I saw Huyen's Instagram and I was like, this person would be so perfect for the Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. I wish I knew Huyen when I was first experiencing my issues and beginning my journey with polycystic ovarian syndrome specifically. And it's funny because Huyen is based in Austin, Texas. I'm a Louisiana girl, as we know. So it's fun to talk to people from back home, essentially. But Huyen is a physician's assistant who is also a functional medicine practitioner. So not just a coach now, but now officially a practitioner, as in the past couple weeks. Huyen has turned her healthcare around by doing it the natural way with functional medicine, as well as that of her family's health. I will let Huyen tell you more about her journey and about her website, about how to stay in touch with her at her In Charge Functional Health practice, which you can access online. So Huyen, please tell us a little bit about you. You're going to be giving us your website throughout the podcast. I will be asking you to remind folks of your website again and again, but tell us about your journey.
All right. Thank you, Brooke, for having me here. Hi, everyone. My name is Huyen. I'm a physician assistant, and I'll share with you my health journey a little bit here. So I was diagnosed with IBS when I was 18, and I was told that there was no cure for it. You just basically treat the symptom if you have symptom. So take Pepcid if you have heartburn, gas X if you're bloating, things like that. So they say it's not a big deal, it's a minor issue. But it really changed your life because for me, if I go out to eat something, I have to make sure is that something that I can eat that not going to cause bloating. Is that if I go travel, I have to make sure is there a restroom nearby. So if I ended up having a flare, I can run to the restroom immediately. But I get used to it and I live with it. But then in my late 20s, I was diagnosed with subclinical hypothyroidism. And it was a puzzle for me because I didn't know how did I ended up there. I went to PA school and get my medical education, and I still couldn't find the answer for myself. There was no cure for IBS or subclinical hypothyroidism. All you can do is to just monitor your lab, repeat it in 6 months, see how you're going, and then make sure it's just not getting worse. So at that time, I kind of accepted that answer. I moved on with life. When me and my husband wanted to start a family, we were struggled to get pregnant. It took us about 2 years to conceive. And with my first pregnancy, I have a miscarriage, and it was devastating for me.
Yeah.
It was a pretty traumatic experience for me.
Yeah.
I was very stressed out and depressed at that time.
Yeah.
And at that point, if we have time, I'm going to share this a little bit too. At that time, I feel like nobody understood what I went through.
Right.
I felt unheard.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, four other people that I know were pregnant at the same time. Like four friend and family were pregnant at the same time. So I was constantly invited to like baby shower while trying to go into the grief of the loss. And my OBGYN told me that, well, it's not uncommon to have a miscarriage. 1 out of 5 pregnant women gonna have a miscarriage. But at that time, I was questioning, why is that me? Why I'm one of those five women?
Right.
What
And did that make you feel any better to say, oh, 1 out of 5 women experience this? Did that make you feel better or worse?
it kind of both. I would say both because at
Yeah.
the same time, I was like, okay, there was it's not uncommon. There's an explanation for it. There's not something that I did wrong on my end,
Right.
So it's kind of give me that relief. But it didn't make me feel any better that I lost my baby, and
Right.
I and
It's
I I feel resented with everyone else around me. I was
yeah.
like, but why is that me? Why I have to be the one? Um, but luckily now, like I move on with life. We were able to have two beautiful baby, now toddler after that.
Yay.
But my kid now having different allergy. Um,
Uh,
and that really bugged me. I was like, why? Like I don't have any allergy. My
mm.
husband have like a minor allergy to crawfish, but he can eat
Hmm.
everything else fine. So why did my kid have like all these food and medicine allergy? So that when I start questioning, did my health problem have anything to do with this, with my miscarriage? And that when I dig into alternative medicine and functional medicine, and I did find the answer for myself. I was excited, but at the same time, I was met when I found out the answer. I was met that nobody shared about this. Nobody told patient about this. Nobody talked to provider about this in medical school.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I was so passionate about sharing my knowledge, sharing my experience with other people that going through the same thing. So I can, number one, educate them and then empower and inspire them to make change for themselves. And that when I started my virtual functional health consulting business. So my goal is to help women with gut and hormone issue to regain their energy and mental clarity by addressing the root causes of the problem.
Yes, and what is the name and website?
Yeah, so the name of my business is In Chart Functional Health. Because I want you to be in charge of your health. Like nobody can do that but you, and that's why I come up with that name. And my website is www.inchartfunctionalhealth.com. And you can follow me on Instagram too. My handle is In Chart Functional Health.
That I love that you make it easy too. inchargefunctionalhealth.com or at inchargefunctionalhealth.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. And again, I'm just so glad that, I hate to sound like I sound a little woo-woo here, but that the universe connected us. Again, I wish it would have connected us 20 years ago when I began my journey, but
Yeah.
I think you would have been like a teenager. So that is not necessarily possible. We're here
Right.
now. You're helping many people. You'll help many more. And I know that if you go to your website and you enter your email address, you send like this really great guide to antioxidant food. So I downloaded that myself. I think
Okay,
it's
cool.
wonderful.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just have another new guide that I posted up there. It's called Rocking Your Gut Health. And it tells you about like 5 rules that you can start implement immediately to start rocking your gut. So you
Rocking
should
your
know that
gut.
one too. Yes.
Yeah, I'll download that one too. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. And you know what it is like for so long, like as women, and this is totally off track, but as women especially, we've been taught to like avoid your stomach, like hide your stomach, hide your stomach. And obviously they're talking about the outside stomach. But we've been
Mm.
talking about gut health so much and so much recently because there's so much research proving the importance that everything begins there. So I love that we're like gut, like let's just go for the word gut. Yeah, that's essentially where it all begins. And I guess my question is, you started off as a physician's assistant, so very much into modern medicine or traditional medicine. I'm using my famous air quotes, if you will.
Mhm.
So when you were a physician's assistant first beginning, was there any inclination? Were you already like eating healthy? Were you practicing any sort of functional medicine, or was it your own journey with IBS and with subclinical hypothyroidism that drew you into this?
Yeah, so I thought I was eating healthy. Like I don't eat a lot of processed food or fast food. I try to go with like natural thing like that. But that itself was not enough to
Mm,
reverse my condition. So I thought there was no cure for it because I consider myself at that time pretty healthy. Like I don't do junk food or fast food thing like that. Um, but I think my struggle with my health condition and my children health is what really ignite my passion for this. Because if it's just you, it's just you can deal with it, not big deal.
Right.
Women, we have high pain tolerance, we go through childbirth, all things like that. But when it comes to your children and your family, that is what really drives the passion for me.
Yeah. And I read also on your website, speaking of family, that your husband was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver. Is it syndrome or condition?
Yeah, so it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it's actually called
Disease.
because
And
he
you
started.
helped him?
Yeah, so he was diagnosed pretty early in his late 20s. And we were
Okay.
shocked because he's a skinny guy. He's like
Yeah.
5'7", 145 pounds. Like I was like, how in the world that you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? He doesn't
Yeah.
smoke, he doesn't drink, he just have a sweet tooth. That's it. And he does have family history of high cholesterol. So at that time, we were both like surprised to find out that he had that. And we went to the liver specialist. They did all these scans, and they told him that, well, you have to go home and just change your diet and do a Mediterranean diet, watch what you eat, and then we'll see you back in a year. And
A
I was
year.
Yes, I was not happy with that answer because I was like, okay, like what should I eat? Mediterranean diet. What do you mean in it? Like what should we avoid? What should we get restricted? So that when I look into like a lot into nutrition too and see okay what should you avoid in now non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Once I learned about functional medicine, what I learned is that in modern medicine, we did not address insulin resistance early enough. So right
Ah,
now in modern medicine, you are not considered pre-diabetes or diabetes until your hemoglobin A1C get to like 5.6 or 5.7. But
mm-hmm.
in functional medicine, if you hit 5.2, it's an alarming sign. We need to
Okay.
start looking on it at 5.2. And my husband was way past 5.2 many years ago. And
Whoa.
nobody addressing it. Yeah, he was like 5.5, 5.6, 5.5, 5.6.
Whoa.
Yeah, so nobody addressing it. It was just like, oh, you just watch what you eat. It's not too bad. You're not even diabetic. But that is the precursor for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Because when you have so much sugar in the body that your cell become resistant to insulin, it not respond well to insulin anymore, it's not going to open the door and let insulin shuffle the sugar into the cell. So all that excess sugar gets stored in the liver and then converted
Mm.
into fat, and that turning into fatty liver.
Wow. You
Yes.
you made it incredibly easy to understand.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, say somebody else went through what your husband went through and they didn't have you, they would be, and I use cuss words sometimes, they would be shit out of luck in
Yeah.
today's medical and modern medicine. They would be
Yes.
shit out of luck.
Yes.
Because that's very vague. And I do condone a Mediterranean diet, but I specifically know what those foods are. Most people don't. Like they
Mhm.
didn't give him some sort of, they didn't give him anything more than basically go Google this type of thing. They didn't give him any sort of tips or anything.
Yeah, so I remember they discharged us because I went with him with one sheet of paper. A list of food you should eat, a list of food you should avoid. So there was two columns of like, this is what you should eat, this is what you should avoid. But there was no education about like portion control, plate structure, what should you eat first, what should you eat later, because that really important too. I share a little bit about plate structure here. You can eat the same thing, but the order that you eat it can really affect your blood sugar spike. So if you have the whole plate divided into half of that should be your vegetable and green and all that good like green
Okay.
stuff. A quarter of that should be your protein, and then a quarter of that should be your healthy carb. like sweet
Okay.
potato, quinoa, brown rice, uh, complex carb, brown,
Right.
instead of just like simple carb. So when you eat, if you go first with your vegetable and then protein and carb, your blood sugar is gonna be stable. But if you dive first into the carb and then other thing later, you're gonna have a spike on blood sugar first. And you want your blood sugar to be stable. That when it's easier for the cell to be receptive to insulin and open the door for the insulin to get the sugar in there. Yep.
So VPC instead of VIP, VPC,
Yeah.
vegetable protein carb. And
Yes.
that's helpful for anyone.
Yes.
Somebody like me with PCOS, my mom who's been told she's pre-diabetic, my dad who's diabetic, but not just for them, for anyone. I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I don't have to watch what I eat unless I have health issues." I'm like, if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have some sort of focus on healthy eating, physically what you're eating, and the way in which you mentally think of it, then you're going to end up with some sort of health issue down the line, be it, a mental, physical issue, and I know you and I are both not preaching to people, you must eat healthy. You and I are on the same team. We're saying there needs to be a balance. And that's what you're teaching people is this balance. So my question is for irritable bowel syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
I have some friends with that, and my dog actually has irritable bowel disease. I know obviously it might be a little different in the canine world, but
Yeah.
what are some foods that you can or enjoy or safe to eat that won't irritate it versus certain foods that you avoid?
Yeah. So the exact answer is really varied, depend on each individual. Because what happens when you have irritable bowel syndrome is that you start having some sort of leaky gut.
Mm.
Leaky gut, think of it like a firewall. It
Oh.
protects your intestinal wall against harmful stuff, and it's only allow like nutrition, micronutrient to get through. So when you have a lot of things that damage that firewall, such as crap food, toxin, stress, that firewall gonna be broken down, and then everything can leak through. That
Mm.
include toxin from bacteria,
Mm.
undigested food. It can pass through to the intestinal wall, and your body is not used to it. Your body will say, "Oh, hey, this is stranger danger. These guys don't belong here." So it will start mounting an immune response against these guys and causing systemic inflammation. So
Mhm.
when that's the case, when you introduce some food that have molecule that mimicking some like toxin or bacteria or virus on the
Ah.
surface, the body will think, oh, those are harmful, and it's gonna start producing immune response to it, and you're gonna feel terrible if you eat that because
Mhm.
your body thinks it's danger. So some people will have different response to food, but there's two group of food in anyone who have IBS or IBD that I would recommend to stay away. That will be gluten and dairy.
Okay.
Those are the two group of food that commonly trigger inflammation. So if you
Mhm.
want to calm down the inflammation, I will try to eliminate those first.
Yeah, you hear a lot about inflammation in general, like just kind of being like, there's this thing, money is the root of all evil. And I'm like, inflammation is the root of all evil because it
Yes.
seems like inflammation can cause so many health issues.
Uh-huh.
Um, like just spanning the gamut. This is a funny question, Huyen, because I like your analogy of the firewall. I live in a very old home whose
Uh-huh.
firewall situation is maybe a little shaky between myself and the neighbors.
Yeah.
How do you come up with these like analogies? Like did it start when you were a physician's assistant? Like these are analogies to explain medical terms to the non-medical people. How do you come up with these analogies?
Yeah, I think it's just trial and error.
Yeah, seeing
I
what
try
clicked.
different, yes, I try different thing, and whatever really clicked with people, they were like, "Oh, it's like the light bulb going in the head," and I was like, "Okay, that one worked.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stick with that one."
yeah, I'm using it. And so can you see the light bulb go off in their head
Yes,
sometimes?
yes.
Yeah. I love that. Like I love when I hear a good medical analogy. I'm like, "Oh, Thank God. And also means that this medical practitioner knows what they're doing because they are listening to their patients. They're listening on a another level to their patients. Now, this
Right.
is what I'm interested about because again, you still practice as a physician's assistant and you work in the urgent care realm. So
That's correct.
let's talk about urgent care versus chronic care. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? Like maybe I think that the people who are listening to this podcast might know the difference, but let's kind of like glaze over the difference a little bit and talk about your views on that. Because when you and I talked on the phone, you had some wonderful things to say about this, and I was like, "This is going on the podcast. We got to talk about this." So
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So urgent care is when you come in for like acute condition like cold, flu, COVID, strep. If you have like UTI, a
mm,
sprain, a strain, you get cut, you need a suture, or you have an abscess, you need to be drained, anything,
ooh,
like acute skin infection or allergic reaction, you come in, you don't need an appointment, and then I'll see you immediately, get you
mm-hmm,
taken care of immediately. So that's is the scope of urgent care and acute care. Chronic condition will be something that you need to be managed and monitor and to be on medication to for a long term to monitor these conditions such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, hypothyroid condition, things like that. And the sad reality is that in America right now, like most care is most care that we provided is for chronic care. And
mm,
it's sad because it's a sick care system. We care for
yeah.
you when you're already sick. It's not a health care system anymore. A lot of these chronic conditions can be prevented if we act on it early, we jump on it early, we start 5, 10 years before heading into that direction, or we give these patients enough education and empowerment so that they can make the change for themselves. Um, and that's why I cannot see myself working in the chronic care model because knowing
Mhm.
what I know now from functional medicine is really conflict with caring for chronic condition. So
Yeah.
that I still love urgent care because I can see these patients, I can help them immediately. And a lot of the time I have patients coming in for something totally not related, such as they come in for just I would say allergy, like seasonal allergy.
Okay.
But I still have to go through their whole medical history, right? So I was like, okay, so you have asthma too, you have eczema too, and that like give me a ding 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 bell in my head already. Okay, allergy, asthma, eczema, these are autoimmune condition. It have to start it
Mm.
somewhere. So I start asking about like, do you have any gut issue? Um, and they will be like, yeah, I have a lot of like bloating and belching and acid reflux, and I cannot tolerate some food. And that when I was like, oh, okay, well, I can see the connection here. And I start telling them about um, like the firewall, how your gut can cause systemic inflammation, and that can trigger the eczema and the allergy and worsening your asthma. And that when they really appreciate it, they were like, oh my God, like nobody told me about this before. They were just treating each condition separately. And they were very thankful for the tip. And then even though I don't have a lot of time to do like sit down and do 45 minute to an hour talk with them like I do for my client in functional health practice, but at least I can plant the seed for them, have them look deeper into those problems, and then do the research. The other common connection that I see in urgent care is a lot of women coming in with gut issue,
Mm.
thyroid, and depression. And even though they sound totally different and separate system, they are related and connected because when you're talking about depression, you're talking about a lack of happy hormone called
Mhm.
serotonin.
Mhm.
Even though it's the brain neurotransmitter, 90% of the 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So if
Ah.
yes, so if you don't have a healthy gut, you are stressed out all the time, you have hypothyroidism, it's affecting your gut function, your body not going to be able to produce sufficient amount of serotonin. So you, of course,
Um,
going to be depressed, going to be anxious, and I'm not surprised to see that combo in these patients. So when I give them the connection and say, hey, listen, these things can be connect together, and I gave them this the example like I just told you, they were like, oh my god, I, you are the first one that told me I'm not crazy. Like I can
yeah.
sense something wrong. Like there must be something deeper that I can do besides just taking these pills. And you are the first one that telling me that I can fix these and I can reverse these. And it just make me happy to see like the hope that I planted for them, and they feel like empowered that they can make the change for themselves.
Yeah, because you know how you said, like, when you're hearing them talk about the different symptoms, your mind goes ding, 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 kind of like an alert that, okay, this is a connection here. Not
Mm-hmm.
to knock most of the modern healthcare system, but I will. That's kind of like what I do because they've failed so many people, as far as treating chronic care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not a lot of medical practitioners providers are doing that. They are
Mm-hmm.
just going by the book because that is what they're
Right.
taught. They're not taught to view things from a holistic angle, and they're
Exactly.
taught to be more reactive as opposed to proactive. And
Right.
that's what I love about you, about functional medicine, about your message, about what you're spreading. Your the message that you're spreading and that hits home with you is that it's about being proactive, not reactive, and taking charge.
Right.
So, and while we do that, plug your website and the name of your business, if you will, right then and
Yes,
there.
it is in chart functional health. In chart functional medicine. I'm sorry, it's
I,
in chart functionalhealth.com. That's my website, and my Instagram handle is at in chart functional health.
that's right, and we're in the zone, so like our brains are all like boo boo because we're
Yes.
in the flow, so it's all good. So
Yes.
I have a question
Uh
because
huh.
I know people are going to want to connect with you and learn more. But can you? And every person is different. That's the thing. You will be talking with people and making plans for people individually, and you will listen to people and take into account everything that they're experiencing and or their health goals. But
Hmm.
can you kind of give us? And I know this might be a little difficult, but three kind of general tips that people can do to take charge of their health right now.
Yeah.
Again, I know it might be super generalized because people are individualized, but what would you say to that?
Yeah. So three things that I will strongly recommend to everyone to start looking into, that will be crap food, toxin, and stress. That's the root of all chronic condition and inflammation that's going on. So when it comes to craft food, we want to eat anything that we can pronounce. If you pick up a box of grocery, flip in the back of the flip in the back and read the ingredient. If it's something that you can pronounce, you eat that. If that's something you cannot pronounce, you don't even recognize the name, that means it's chemical, it's processed food, you don't need that in your body. You need anything that natural, non-processed. So anything fresh like produce, fish, grass-fed meat, poultry, egg, that is your standard, your foundation. Work with that
Mhm,
first. Try to stay away anything that have preservative, frozen, anything processed. Stay away from them.
mhm.
In terms of toxin doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be like a potion or something like that. Thing that you have in your home, like your dishwasher, your lotion, your skincare, they all contain chemical. And some of the chemical are endocrine disruptor, so it will mess up
Ah,
with the hormone. So you want to go with anything that non-toxic, natural living. So a lot of it are trending right now. So my favorite brand is Branch Basics. Those are pretty clean brand in terms of cosmetic or skincare. I love Honest Beauty. They are clean. They are affordable. So start swatching it out slowly. I know it's a lot to swap out at the same time, but like
Yeah.
1 week at a time, swap it out slowly so that you have like a cleaner environment around you. Stress is the big thing to work on. So a lot of my clients, after we work on their diet, their exercise, their nutrition, we heal the gut, we try to optimize the hormone. And if they're not getting any better, it's because of the stress level. Stress
Mm.
can do so much, it have a profound impact on your health. So in my program, I actually have a mindset coach that work with my client too to
Oh,
help.
great.
Yes, so she's amazing and she does nervous system regulation with my client. So, what stress is every day in your life? It's impossible to say just avoid stress. That's just impossible, right?
Yeah.
But what we need to learn is a tool, how to manage it, how to shift
Mhm.
between that sympathetic state to this parasympathetic state. So sympathetic state will be that fight or flight mode, like you running for
Mhm.
your life. You need to hurry and do these things to work, get your job done, meet the deadline. But then when all that is done, you try to bring your body back into that rest and relaxing state so your body can heal. In this modern society, we have to teach the body to rest and relax because after we're done with all the work during the day, feeding the kid, teaching them homework, you go to bed and the first thing you start doing is picking up your phone and start scrolling. That's
Yeah,
not.
that's toxic too. That's
Yes,
toxic.
yes. That blue light before your bedtime, that's not relaxing. You're just numbing your mind from being busy and being stressed out. That's not a way to relax. Relax is when you just put away everything, take a deep breath, bring it to like grounding, bring yourself back to your zen, listen to your body, and try to bring that into that calmness state. That's relaxing.
Yeah.
And we have to teach our client that too in this
Yeah.
modern society. Yeah.
I've been really working on that myself because my blood pressure is borderline high, and I mean,
Mhm.
I have a lot of stress. Who doesn't? I mean, I'm
Mhm.
in New York in a very volatile business, and my
Mhm.
parents both have health issues, and I'm an
Mhm.
only child. So, I mean, everybody has their own stresses. So I feel like I have a lot of stress, and I put a lot of stress on myself.
Right.
And a couple months ago, I said, Brooke, I said, at this rate, you're going to kill yourself early, or worse than killing yourself early, you're gonna have a very bad life if you keep at this with your heart, doing this to yourself. So I really got diligent about doing yin yoga, which is it focuses on, the parasympathetic nervous system. And, we've had one of my friends, she's been on here, Amy Fulgham, who's talked about yin yoga. We've had a breath work coach on here. There's
Uh-huh.
something called on YouTube, Therapy in a Nutshell. I was actually just listening to her before, our conversation today, and she was saying that the parasympathetic nervous system, if you think of para as in a parachute, it
Uh-huh.
slows you down, and that's what we wanna activate. I was like,
Yes.
"Yes."
Oh, that's
It's
such a good analogy.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
great. Therapy in a nutshell. I love her. She's actually
Um,
better than a therapist that I have found yet. So
yeah.
while she's not my therapist, I appreciate her advice on YouTube. And one thing that I started doing over the past 2, 3 years, because I love animals, and also, my mom has asthma, and I know this is gonna connect somehow. I said, "I wanna be cruelty free with all my
Uh-huh.
products, and I want to find more allergen-free products, because
Yeah.
my mom can't be around certain scents.
Yeah.
And Trader Joe's has a decent amount of beauty products that are cruelty-free, and would you approve of many of their products, do you think, as far as beauty and health related?
Yeah, so I would recommend to download an app. Let me pull it up
Okay.
on my phone here so I can show you. It's called EWG Healthy Living. So it looks like this.
EWG. EWG Healthy Living, okay.
Yeah. So these are great reference to what product is safe to use, and it
Mhm.
actually give you the rating from like 1 to 10. Like one is the
Ah,
safest, that is in the green zone. This product is in yellow zone, and these products are like red zone. Don't touch it. And it's so
okay.
cool because you can actually scan. You can actually scan the
Uh-huh.
product. Like if you go
Oh my
shopping, you
gosh.
just scan the barcode and it will tell you, okay, this is good. Yeah, so I
Oh
love
wow.
using these. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that would be awesome to try. That'd be super fun.
yes. So I have this app on my phone. Like if I try a new product, I will put them
Like, you
in, and if
scan
I
it.
go shopping, I scan it. Yes, that's my cheat sheet right
Yeah,
there.
I like that cheat sheet. Hey, we all need one. And I think your tips have been so helpful. We're going to do something now called the rapid fire fatness, where I ask you questions that kind of are driven by this podcast because it's always, I'm always trying to balance, food with a healthy perspective and also viewing food from a fun angle. Because while
Mhm.
you are a functional medicine practitioner, I know there might be some fun moments associated with food. And I mean, obviously, healthy food can be fun. So
Uh-huh.
we're going to ask you some questions around that, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, do you have a favorite childhood memory associated with food? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, when I growing up, I love eating fried egg, white rice, and soy sauce. That's my go-to because
Hey.
yeah, because my mom has been always busy working, trying to raise me and my brother growing up. So if we don't have anything ready to prepare at home, fried egg, white rice, soy sauce, you can't go wrong with it. So that's like my comfort food.
Oh, I love that. So you're a savory person, but it's good because you got the protein in there, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's not the most healthiest one, but you still got the protein, some of the carb. If you do it in moderation, it's still good.
Yeah. And it makes you feel it has like a memory of childhood, of growing
Yes,
up, of I need to satisfy my hunger. And
yes,
it does that and then some. Now,
yes.
is that your comfort food or do you have another food that is like your favorite comfort food?
That's my favorite comfort food during childhood. And then when I grow up, I would say when I'm really stressed out, I crave for a bowl of ramen.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
you're a
that
salty person. Your
I'm a
husband's a sweet
salty.
tooth and you're the salty.
Yes, I'm a salty. I'm a salty person.
Yeah,
Um,
girl.
I don't crave much for sweet. My husband is on opposite end. Like he have sweet tooth. I'm a savory girl.
And you're just reverse of my boyfriend and I. I'm a sweet and he's a savory.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
we could like double date and have a fun time. Yeah, a
Yeah,
good balance. Oh, that's
yeah.
fun. So I know most of what you eat is considered healthy food. I mean, not even
Mhm.
just quotes unquotes healthy foods, but what you eat is nutritious foods. You have a very
Uh-huh.
nutritious diet. What's your
Yes.
favorite one? Like I was on a big kale kick. Right now I'm on a big mushroom kick. What's your favorite
Okay.
food?
Yeah, my favorite is smoothie because I
A
feel like
smoothie.
yes, you can get so creative with it. You can be throw random thing with it. You can get creative. You can create a new recipe with it, and it all ended up tasting so good. Like I feel like you cannot go wrong with smoothie, and it's so easy to do. My kid love it. They love to help me make smoothie. It's like an experiment for them too. We try different recipe and experiment different ingredient, see how it tastes, and so that's my favorite for now.
No, I love that. My mom, I joke that she eats like a 7-year-old because my mom would subsist on chicken fingers and mashed potatoes. But I'm like,
Oh
Mom, let's get some vegetables going. And I'm so
yes,
proud of her because I have mixed frozen vegetables into her smoothies. So we'll do like
yes,
coconut milk and like strawberries, but I'll throw in some like frozen broccoli, which is actually hard to digest. So maybe we shouldn't be doing frozen broccoli, but like frozen spinach.
uh
And
huh.
she's liking it. So I love that you mentioned smoothies. Now, question, do y'all have Smoothie King in Texas?
We
Smoothie
do.
King is you do?
Yes, yeah, I love
That's like
some.
a childhood nostalgia thing for me is Smoothie King because like I think they originated in New Orleans or definitely in Louisiana. So
Yes.
every time I go home, I do the light and fit angel food. So
Oh
it
yeah.
that reminds me of home.
Yes, I love the Paradise Island. The
Ooh,
tropical,
tropical.
yes, the tropical one. That one is so good. I think it have mango, pineapple, um, maybe banana. Don't quote me on banana, but I know for sure they have like mango and pineapple. And it's low in calorie but high in protein. That's what I like about it
That's
too.
good to know. Just tell
Yeah,
me the name of it again, because we actually have Smoothie King in Jersey. So next
yeah.
time I go, I'm gonna get it. What's it called? Paradise
Yeah.
Island?
I think it's called Paradise Island.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
look it up. That's just so funny that the Smoothie King connection. I love it. One of my best
yes,
friends, Freddie, he is obsessed too.
yes.
So, Huyen, do you have, we've talked a lot about it, but like if you could put it in a nutshell, do
Mhm.
you have like a healthy living lifestyle mantra, and not just for like from a mental aspect, so not just
Mhm.
physically what you're eating and intaking, but what do you mentally tell yourself to kind of stabilize and keep going?
Yeah, I think my mantra will be nourish, move,
Nourish.
movement, and balance. So
Nourish.
nourish,
Uh-huh.
nourish, movement, and balance. So
Okay.
nourish mean I have to be conscious about what I'm feeding myself, what I put into my body, knowing what consequence I'm gonna have from it.
Yeah.
Because I went from IBS into symptom free right now. So and that a lot of it have to do with diet and nutrition change. So right now I'm really conscious about what food gonna trigger my IBS flare, what food gonna give me energy to have the momentum to do a lot of things during the day, getting things done, taking care of the kid, thing like that. So nourish is my number one thing. Movement, we all need to move, like either exercise or
Yeah.
dancing or walking. Pick a movement that you enjoy doing and bring you joy. So for me, last year it was I love HIIT, high intensity
Yeah.
interval training. So last year for me it was HIIT. This year my gym closed, and I was like, dang,
Ah.
yeah, and it was so convenient because it's on the way to pick up my kid from school, thing like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So I joined a new gym and they didn't have HIIT, so I just do the workout myself. But they have a
Yeah.
Zumba class. So I was like, okay, let's
Yeah.
do some Zumba this year. And it was fun, it was movement, it was music, it was relaxing. So just pick a movement that you enjoy. And I have questions from client all the time, like what type exercise I should do. Should I do yoga? Should I do Pilates, weight training? I was like, you start with what you enjoy the most and you build up
Yeah.
from. Yeah, I cannot force you to do something that you don't enjoy doing. So it have to be something you enjoy first. And then the last thing will be balance.
Balance.
So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be healthy. I try to do all these things, but I still want to indulge on things that I love. Like so for
Yeah.
once, oh yeah,
Like
once
the
in a while,
like the ramen or the rice with
ramen.
the soy sauce
Yes,
and fried egg.
yes, yeah. That's my comfort food. If I'm stressed out, I feel good with it, I'm just gonna have one bowl of that, and then balance out my day. Probably lift a little bit more that day. I run a
Mhm.
little bit more that day to balance out what I eat, and then balance between work and life. Family time because that's most important for us. Try to connect with people because that's how you survive in this society. You cannot do everything by yourself. You have to connect with your friend, your family, have someone to relate to listen to. I think that that's the most basic human need to be heard and
Yeah.
validated. So you need that connection.
And that is why you are in this field for a reason, because saying that, you are going to help so many patients, both as a physician's assistant and as a functional medicine practitioner. I wish so many more folks in the medical realm said that. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you really resonate. Final question, Huyen. Was there ever a moment where you found your inner fat girl, where you were like, yeah, I feel like I'm really in my body, in my mind, feeling it, feeling empowered?
That's a tough question. I really have to think about that one. But I guess for me that moment was when I did my first Instagram live with one of my colleagues in functional medicine. So I'm gonna disclose with you a little bit my biggest fear. My biggest fear before I started my functional health consulting was to be seen. As an actress, you probably don't have that problem because you're on
Right.
screen, on TV all the time. But for me, like that's my biggest fear, like to put myself in public because I'm fear of being seen, being judged, what people are gonna think of me, my appearance, my accent, what I'm telling them, what I advise them. But so when I did my first Instagram live, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, what they're gonna think of me? And I did it. And I was like, I did it. It was not that bad. And now I was like, why do I care so much about what people think? Like, I should just be caring about how I feel. Do I feel my best? Do I feel authentic? Is that me? And that was my moment. I was like, I just want to be on there, be myself, spread the knowledge, share my story, and then forget about the rest. So that was my moment.
You know, I'm kind of like tearing up here because that really like sits with me in my heart, because while I'm an actor, I think anybody's biggest fear is putting yourself out there and being judged for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hitting me because it's like you have such value information. I will keep saying it. I've said it 3 times. I'll say it a 4th time.
Thank
I
you.
wish I had known you when I desperately needed help.
Uh-huh.
So it it I'm so glad you confronted that fear,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so much more worth it for people to see and hear you. And we need your voice. So it really means a lot that you came on here today and that you did that. Yeah, I think you're great. I had such a fun time connecting with you, and I
Yeah.
want you to plug the name of your website and Instagram one more time, please, Huyen.
Yes, my website is www.inchartfunctionalhealth.com. My Instagram handle is at inchartfunctionalhealth. And I provided a lot of tips on IBS, brain fog, fatigue, PCOS. So just following along for all these tips.
Yes, y'all, her tips are invaluable. Please follow along. You will help yourself, you'll help others by following Huyen. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Brooke, for having me here. It was fun.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks so much for listening, y'all. It is my hope to inspire, uplift, and entertain you with this Who's Dat Fat Girl podcast. So, if you're hungry for more, you can book me to speak or perform my solo show that inspired this podcast, Fat Girl Costumes, written by yours truly and directed by Brian Lady at your virtual or in-person event. Please visit brookehoover.com/fluffybuttproductions or email me at contactbrookhoover@gmail.com for more info. And let's follow each other on Instagram. I'm at Brooke Hoover, and the O's in my name are not the letter O, they're zeros. Not because I want to be a size 0, but because I guess I'm just so clever with my late 90s Yahoo self. And if you like this podcast, which I really hope you do, please give me a 5-star rating and write a review on Apple Podcasts. And most importantly, share this with your friends, family, and other people you may know who are as fat as we are. That's fat with a PH.